Brothers and sisters, in my prison visits, I often meet men who are victims of their circumstances, victims of their troubled youth, victims of the abuse or neglect they experienced in their childhood. I've heard several times these words or something like them. Where was God when I was being abused? In today's Gospel, we encounter a man who'd been blind from birth. I wonder, did that man ever say during his lifetime, where was God when I was born blind? If that question ever crossed the blind man's mind, Jesus could have answered the question directly when he said, he was born blind so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Brothers and sisters, the Church teaches that there are two types of evil in the world, physical evil and moral evil. The case of the man being born blind is a physical evil. When someone dies young from cancer, it is a physical evil. When a tsunami kills thousands of people, it is a physical evil. On the other hand, there is moral evil. When a person acts in a way that deliberately hurts another person, that is a moral evil. The men I meet in prison who end up in a life of crime were generally subject to moral evils in their childhood or youth, either by way of neglect or abuse. But I've also met men in prison subject to physical evil, such as disabilities and incidents that involve nature that cause them physical or psychological harm. As we know from the Bible and church teaching, when God first created the universe, it was all created good. Thus, in the beginning, there were neither physical nor moral evils. But in giving us true freedom, which we use to choose to sin, we open the door to both physical and moral evil, as both humanity and creation fell and was broken as a result of original sin. The man born blind in today's Gospel experienced a physical evil, which was a consequence of broken human nature and creation resulting from original sin. As Jesus said in the Gospel, neither he nor his parents sinned. That is, the man's blindness was not a punishment for the parent's sin or the blind man's sin, but a general consequence of fallen human nature and fallen creation. In saying what he did, Jesus corrected the Jewish notion of the time that if someone had bad luck, it must have been due to personal sin. We know sin has its consequences, but there are great sinners having a great life and living saints suffering in ways we can never imagine. Returning, brothers and sisters, to what Jesus said of the real reason for the man's blindness, so that the works of God might be displayed in him, we must then ask the question, what did Jesus mean by this? Let's start by an analysis of the goodness or otherwise of the man's lack of sight and how that ties in with a God who is only good and loving. From my earlier explanation of evil, we can see that the man was subject to a physical evil in the fact that he had no sight. As it was not a result of particular personal sin of the man or of his parents, we can surmise that the blindness of the man is thus a result of sin in general, the sin of humanity which impaired God's natural creation. In a sense, like Jesus dying on the cross being the result of all of our sin, the blindness of the man, we could also say, is the result of all our sin. Sin, while it is carried out at the personal level, is corporate in its effects. That is, mine and your personal sin has a negative consequence on all of humanity and creation. Let's move to God now. God is good. Everything God created was good, including human free will. We were created with free will, which meant we could follow God in only choosing good, or we could follow Satan and the evil angels and choose to sin. Clearly, we chose the path of sin, which then brought death and disorder into the world and creation. Nevertheless, God never changes and is always only ever willing good. And so, God always positively wills to bring good, even from situations where He's permitted humanity to choose evil. Jesus in today's Gospel pronounces that He is God when He says, I am the light of the world. And given that God only ever wills the good, Jesus showed that, in permitting that man to be born blind, for whatever medical reason that had occurred, He allowed it so that He could show His omnipotent goodness by bringing good from that physical evil, by healing the man of his blindness. As the blind man said to the Pharisees that were interrogating him, ever since the world began, it is unheard of for anyone to open the eyes of a man who was born blind. If this man were not from God, he couldn't do a thing. So, like Peter who said, "You are the Christ," or Thomas who said, "My Lord and my God," here we have a man who was born blind, proclaiming the power and omnipotence of Jesus, the light of the world, Son of Man, Son of God, God. And as the gospel ends, the man said, "Lord, I believe," and worshipped him. These stories are given to us so that we too may believe that God is good, that God only ever wills the good, that even when God permits evil, physical or moral, he only allows it so that he may bring some good from it. Brothers and sisters, do we allow God to bring good from the evil in our lives?